Alright everyone, we start off talking today about one of the biggest news stories of the year, but not technically this year. Technically it was one of the big news stories of 2020. It's just that it was pretended by the legacy media that it wasn't, and I'm sure that wasn't for entirely politically motivated reasons. The Hunter Biden email/laptop story from last year that was obviously released in part and in full as a political job, by the way, by Trump's people. This is common among political candidacies. The reason why you would pick through Hunter Biden's recovered email materials and selectively release the material, of course, is to do political damage. But it was quite revealing what was actually there, and it was quite revealing how the legacy media and big tech reacted. Now, first and foremost, before I get into this, link in the description first to a Substack article by Greenwald. Also, remember, I'm on Substack as well. I'll add the Substack, actually, the link to the pinned comment down below, where there will also be links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. Again, keep in mind I make 4 videos every day, sometimes 5. 2 of them will always be exclusively on those platforms. Also, right now, a big welcome, if anyone's seeing this on Odyssey, to all of those of you who are expats from Trovo. I guess there's going to be like a 24-hour fuck Trovo live stream and all this stuff because of numerous instances recently of censorship, I guess. They're not alt tech after all. This story, though, should have been big last year. The reason why it was not given considerable press coverage, the reason why journalists never dug into it, and the reason why they said, well, we know that this isn't true because there's no evidence, and there's no evidence because we're not willing to dig into the story because there's no evidence for it, very circular reasoning, was all political. They were worried that if it came out, specifically with regards to the business conduct of Hunter Biden, that is pertinent to his laptop that he left at the repair shop, didn't recover it, and so they're like, oh, fuck it, and, they're going through it and finding all sorts of crazy shit. They sent copies to, like, Giuliani and stuff. The reason why that story wasn't touched with a 10-foot pole by the legacy media boils down to the fact that they knew that it would do incredible damage to Joe Biden's candidacy among independent voters if it were reported on. So what they did, and I guarantee there was centralized collusion behind this, is simply agree not to report on it at all. When they mentioned it at all, they would say, well, there's no evidence that that the Hunter Biden emails are real. And when it was asked, okay, why don't you investigate them to find out what they're real? Well, there's no evidence that they're real, so there's no reason to investigate. It was a total cop-out. It was completely bullshit. We know it now, because now it's come out, of course, the Hunter Biden emails, which we knew were by and large real anyway, they've been confirmed even now by the legacy media to be true. This means there was improper business conduct between Hunter Biden and foreign states while Biden was VP. That's number one. Hunter Biden is a crack-smoking degenerate. There's no question about this. And again, while his daddy was VP, was doing all sorts of weird things. And the big guy is probably Joe Biden. This should be considered the biggest scandal politically of the entire decade thus far, although that decade is short. We'll throw in the 2010s in there as well at this point because it's quite literally that far up there. But it never got reported on. There are still people now, if you mention this story on Echo Chamber Twitter, that'll swear up and down that there's no evidence that the laptop existed or that the emails are real, despite the fact that it's been explicitly confirmed and now the legacy media doesn't even deny it. Then we come to the big tech response. Of course, their response, especially on Twitter, but also to a degree on YouTube and Facebook, was to begin banning and censoring people who even talked about the story. If you talked about Hunter Biden's emails and used the wrong name or the wrong claim, it was misinfo. You're banned off the platform, bad boy, bad dog. Very, very interesting how at exactly the same time, the legacy media and legacy tech sites all began doing basically the same thing. They had circled the wagons because of their deep hatred for Trump, populism, and the idea of going back, even in a minuscule sense, against globalistic imperialism. They benefit from it. The legacy media gets to rub elbows with the government, get their monopoly continued, keep making their money. Big tech has their monopolies. They get to keep making the money. They get to influence politics, and everyone goes to one another's wedding. This is their cash cow. Globalism is increasingly China-like, number one, and it's how these people make their money. They were terrified that Trump would win a second term. And they know, of course, barring this being released, Hong Kong, of course, 80 million votes and stuff, a lot of people would have turned against Joe Biden. By the way, I fully believe that they were genuinely worried about that, even with the honking going on during the election. This would have been an enormous bombshell. So what do? You simply make sure that no Democrat's going to take it seriously. You call it a conspiracy theory. Well, Maddow said it was a conspiracy theory. The emails don't exist or were fabricated at the 11th hour just to stop Joe Biden. Oh, that's good enough for me. Oh, they won't investigate it? Well, they say there's no evidence that they're real. So this is the way journalism works, folks. If there's not explicit proof that something happened, you don't have to look into whether it happened. Where in journalism school did these people learn this? Which journalism school did they actually go to? You don't need a degree in journalism to know that circular reasoning, it's not how things are supposed to work. Of course, it hasn't worked properly in a long time in so-called journalism in the United States. It's been some decades since we had an actual free and open media, barring, of course, the sort of things that I'm doing right now, and that some of you are doing in the same 24-hour period. We are the media at this point. The CNN's no longer a member of the press. They don't do any of the activities of the press. They're not attempting to promulgate information, just analysis and opinion. They're not attempting to provide truth. They explicitly structure things in such a way to simply affect opinion. Hell, there are more lies by structure and omission on news articles on Fox, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, all the big ones. More lies just by omission or by structure than there are explicit lies. It's not so much saying something that's completely false, it's burying the truth halfway down the article, even though it's relevant enough to be in the tagline. Or it's omitting the story entirely because it's inconvenient. That's what they did with the Hunter Biden emails. We have Hunter Biden conducting himself in a felonious manner. We have him violating probably numerous laws and doing the wheeling and dealing thing in multiple foreign states while Joe Biden was VP. We have allusions to him getting a cut of the proceeds. We have proof now that Biden met with numerous individuals that Hunter was initially meeting with. We were told last year during the campaign that didn't happen. That's horseshit. There's no evidence that then VP Biden ever met with any of the drug lords or the cartel heads or the tyrants and weirdos that Hunter Biden was dealing with. They were entirely separate. And Biden, of course, at the time disclaiming that he met any of these people. Well, we know that that's a lie. That came out last month. We know that it's a lie. We have pictures of him meeting a couple of these people that he claims never to have met. Again, plenty of stuff on the laptop that the legacy media swore up and down wasn't real and big tech buried. If you talked about it and you didn't get banned, you simply got algorithmically deleted so that nobody could ever find your shit who wasn't already following your material. And half the time they don't get notified anyway. It's almost like the algorithms were hastily reprogrammed to front and support one political candidate over the other. Isn't that slightly fascistic? Isn't that, by the way, something that liberals supposedly hate? They've been rambling about Citizens United and billionaire money in politics for a long time, but they have no problem with those same billionaires burning books, censoring people, or even not just endorsing, but openly through algorithms that are supposed to be generally neutral, manipulating public opinion, and even burying really truthful news because it's inconvenient to the candidate that will give them more money, which is Joe Biden. That's about all. Peace out.